Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Car Mechanics Simulator 2018. So today we are doing a Nissan GTR, the dream of many people, me included. I must admit I would quite like to own a GTR, maybe one day in the future. So I got this at the car auction. Obviously it's modded car content, so these things are always not quite perfect. It's quite a detailed engine bay, I must say, for a car mod. Got quite a lot of stuff kicking around in there. For some reason the engine cover is still in, even though the engine's gone. I've taken the engine out on the engine crane and stuck it on the rack. The rest of the stuff we're just going to leave. It's in pretty good condition all in all. Not really any rust or anything, a little bit around the edges, but we're not going to worry about that sort of stuff. I think it's a mod. The mod is by K3 Rambo, I think it is the name of the modder. It's a very good mod. I'm very impressed with the level of detail and stuff that he's gone to. The engine may look suspiciously similar to the engine that we saw in the Lancia Stratos not that long ago. Obviously it is basically, well, it is the same V6, but there we go, we don't have that many engines in the game, so we sort of have to make do with what we've got. So first thing first, we'll just get this stripped down and rebuilt. Obviously because it's the same engine, it's only producing like 250 horsepower, so we're quite a way off the sort of I don't actually know off the top of my head what a GTR should be. I'm guessing around 450, something like that. 400 maybe. So let's see if we can sort of increase that a little bit with some modifications. So I just took a few of the engine's heads off, and then I'm just going to take the intake manifold off. So we can get the fuel rails. I should be able to pull each of them off. And then the engine covers on the other side. We should then be able to take off the sort of camshaft housing. And then we'll have to take off all the timing gears to get the camshaft gears out, and then get the actual camshafts themselves out. Oops, let's click on that one. So this is for the retaining block, which is holding the actual camshaft in place. So let's get this pulled out. Oops, misclick. So we'll pull this out on the other side, and then we're going to have to take the all the timing belt and stuff off, because obviously these cam gears are still attached to the timing belt at the end, so obviously we can't just pull them out. So we've got this timing covers in like 3 sections, so we'll have to pull this out. Before we can pull the bottom piece off, I think there's an auxiliary gear and everything that needs to come out. It's like runs like the power steering pump and that sort of thing, alternator. So that must be the alternator there, it is. So all this sort of stuff should come off. The power steering, it is. Various idle rollers and stuff that can all come off, and then a crank. Oh, then we can take this third cover piece off, and then we can take the crankshaft pulley off. No, we can't. Belt tensioner first, obviously, then the belt. Click. Now we can take the pulley off. There we go. Then we've got water pump in the middle, various idle rollers, and all the camshaft gears at the top. Complicated timing setup on this one. It's a very complicated timing setup. There we go, and that one. And so now, in theory, if I'm correct, I should be able to take these camshafts out, which I can. Huzzah. So we'll take all that out. Next, I'm going to take the 6 ignition coils and spark plugs out. Quickly whip these out, obviously 3 on each side, so these 6. Oops. Like so. These out. I don't know why we had this problem on the last video, where there's a lot of glare on one side of this engine. I'm not sure if it's an engine bug. I just look at the amount of glare you get then compared to the other side. You don't. That's just a bit silly. There we go. We'll take this intake manifold off anyway, and then we should be able to pull. Okay. Thermostat housing's got to come off first. Then we should be able to pull the actual heads off. Of course. First we should take the exhaust manifold off, then we should be able to pull the actual heads off. There we go. Take the exhaust manifold off on the other side as well. Yep, because of course there is one. So many bolts. Okay, now we can take the head off, and we should be exposing the cylinders underneath. We're then going to flip this whole thing around. So yeah, so we've got access to them. So we're going to pop out of this menu and turn it around so we can access the sort of oil sump on the bottom. And we'll take the sump off. It will stick on the bottom of the oil sump. It should give us access to all the rod caps. So it's just a case of going around and pulling off these 6 rod caps. And then we should be able to take all the pistons out. Obviously we're replacing these pistons with sort of uprated, I'd hesitate perhaps to say forged pistons, but certainly more so. So let's take these pistons out. 3, 4, 5 and 6. So now the crankshaft should have a couple of bearings, just holding that in, and then the last thing will be the clutch on the end. So obviously we've got the release bearing and the pressure plate, and then the clutch plate underneath this, and then right at the back we should have the flywheel. Oops, let's click, and the flywheel. So now the crankshaft should drop out in theory, it does, and then the whole block should disassemble. Perfect! So let's pop over to the repair bench and just smash through the few bits that need to be repaired. Hopefully none of these will get broken, you never know, a few might do. Invariably we're going to have to buy a few bits, I think. Oops. Okay, so let's have a look what we've got. I've not really been very prepared this time. I've not really brought any bits in advance, so we're going to have to visit the shop a couple of times, I suspect. So we're basically going to work in reverse. We'll stick the crankshaft back in and get that bolted into place. And then we're going to stick the pistons in, put all the rod caps on, secure them, and then we'll flip the whole thing back round and work from there. So we have got uprated pistons, although we haven't got uprated piston rings. So we need to get. Well, I don't want to. You can't actually get uprated piston rings, so we just want some normal piston rings. But I do not want damaged piston rings. Oh, piston. So let's buy 6 of them. I'm just thinking of other things I'm going to need while I'm here. I'm going to need a crankshaft pulley. And probably a handful of idle rollers. Just get a few of these. Anything else I'm going to need? Clutch release bearing. I'm sure there's probably going to be more stuff that I've almost certainly forgotten, but I cannot remember what it is, so we'll find it when we get there. So, we're going to put these uprated pistons in with the new piston rings. So we'll just drop all 6 of these in first. Then we're going to tie them all down with the rod caps. 4, number 5, and finally, the last one there on the end. So then we're going to bolt all these into place to secure all these. Then we can stick the oil sump back on the bottom and then flip the whole thing back up the correct way round. And last one, like so. So yeah, so then we can now turn this all back around to the right way up to put this oil pan on. Like so. So, pop out of there and rotate this thing around. There we go, this one's starting to look vaguely like an engine again now. So back into partner mode. So let's go for the 2 engine heads. Well, I've got 1 upgraded engine head for some reason. Obviously we'll stick 1 on and then I'll just have to go and buy another one from the shop. I'm not quite sure why I've only got 1 of them. Let's go to the tuning shop. What are we looking for? Engine heads. I think it was engine head. That one? Or that one? Engine head A, I think. We'll try that one. No, it was this one. Oh, but I've got some... Oh, of course, I guess they're not symmetrical engine heads. I guess there's an A and a B. I had not considered that. Okay, interesting. Well, there we go. So, we'll drop in our 4 camshafts again. Which we should be able to do easily enough. from here then we should now have to buy some new cam gears. Yes. Oh, I knew there was going to be something else I'd forgotten. I don't think you can get any upgraded cam. Well, I know you can't. So let's go to the main shop and get some cam gears. So we want 4 of them. I thought of something else I've just forgotten as well, but we'll deal with that one shortly. So we'll drop the cam gears into place here on each side. Then we want the crankshaft pulley, which we did remember to buy. And we should have the water pump, which should be repaired. And then we've just got various idle rollers basically to fill in. Obviously we've got a reasonable stock of these. Problem is, this is all going to have to then have the serpentine belt put back on, which I think I did forget. We also haven't got an arm, but 93% is close enough. We're getting lazy. I'm surprised what am I missing? Oh, idle roller there. Then this should ask now for another serpentine belt, which I don't think I have. No. Okay, so let's go and buy a couple more serpentine belts. Wow, lots of options. Serpentine belt. Can you see where it is yet? Oh, one of them. So that's the B one. So there should be an A as well, I would have thought. Serpentine belt A. Ah, there we go. Too much choice. It's too hard to know which one I want. So let's get this new one dropped into place. Should be a belt tensioner, which it is. Drop that into place, and then we should be able to stick some of the timing covers back on. Obviously back to full repair, and then the final piece at the bottom. Then should have all the auxiliary stuff to stick on now. Various idle rollers, alternator, of which we've somehow got a tuned version, and a power steering pump. So then there should be a serpentine belt there, which obviously we brought, and an idle roller B just to tag on the bottom. Okay, so that's all looking good. So then we're going to come back on the top. So we've got these camshaft bearings. Are these repairable? No, they're not. So we need to get 4 camshaft bearings. So I've been having a lot of shop visits today. So let's get 4 of them. Oops. Nope, I'm trying to click on the engine stand. So let's get these guys mounted on. Hold these camshafts into place. So we'll have one of these on each side. And then let's cross over to the other side and do the same thing. And then we should be able to stick the engine covers back on, assuming we can see through the glare. And final one. And we should have engine covers. Should have been repaired on the bench, which obviously they were. Get all this bolted down, and then we're going to have things like the exhaust manifolds, the intake to do, and all that sort of stuff. And last engine cover, which is looking good. Okay, so let's have a look at the intake stuff on the top of the engine. I should have a manifold here, connecting both sides of the V, and then the main manifold on the top, and then there should be a throttle body on the end. So we should have an upgraded part for, which we do. Like so. So what else have we got to do? Obviously our fuel rails, they're kind of an important part to this car. So let's get them in place, which we have. Fuel filter, we should have a little racing version of. And then we just get a standard thermostat housing to drop in on the back. So what else have we got? We've got exhaust manifolds. I don't think there are any uprated exhaust manifolds, but it's probably worth checking. Intake manifold. They're all carb based intake manifolds. there's a standard exhaust manifold, but no exhaust manifold for the V6, I don't think. Same problem with things like the camshaft. There's some camshafts, but there's no specific camshaft for this engine. I think it's the same with the exhaust manifolds. Looks like there isn't one currently available, unfortunately. And the rest of the shop's just a... Okay, so no is the answer to that. So we'll just have to mount what standard ones we've got on the exhaust manifold. Let's get them put in. Like that. There's an oil filter I need to get. Oil filter. Like so. Oops. Nope. Just quit out of that. Let's get the oil filter stuck on. We're nearly there. Just got the exhaust manifold on the other side. Okay, so is that... Oh, clutch. It's an important part. So flywheel. Clutch plate. Should have a special clutch plate. And pusher plate. And then there should just be a little release bearing, which I think I did remember to buy, hopefully. I think I remember I brought that. Oops. Huzzah. Yes, we have a clutch bearing. So, I think that's everything now mounted on the car. No, it's not. I've forgotten the spark plugs. I did that last time as well. I'm not very good at this whole car building thing, apparently. And obviously the ignition coil as well. And then flip round to the other side. I'm getting really hard to access. I completely forgot to put these in earlier. So I've got them in. And then the ignition coils for each one. Okay, so now we can take this engine off the stand, and then using the engine crane, which I'll put it back over here, let's move this to stand A, and then use this to put the engine back into the car. So there we go, so that's looking good for a start. So let's just quickly, no, that is a body part, the engine cover, drop that back into place. Obviously, so nothing can be accessed. It's a very tight engine bay, I must be said. But having said that, let's just lift this whole thing up and have a look underneath. So we've still got to reconnect the gearbox and connect to the drive shafts, basically. So we've got the gearbox there, which we can fit in. Our front exhaust section, just drop that back into place. The drive shaft. Well, I don't know why I have so many spare drive shafts. The exhaust's gone a little bit rusty in places, but there we go. And then there should be a front drive shaft, which goes to nothing. It's a slight mod bug there, I think. And then I think that's pretty much everything connected back in. These front drive axles, because obviously it's a four-wheel drive car, connect to sort of the steering, the transfer box here. And then that connects to nothing. I guess that should, in theory, connect, but it's just a slight mod bug. So let's have a look. Let's lower this thing back down. And oh, I've thought of something I've forgotten. But let me first, while I remember, try and put some oil in this thing. I haven't put the starter motor back on to the gearbox. So unless I'm going to bump start this whole thing, we're not going to actually be able to move. So let's lift it all back up again. Go back under and get to this gearbox and find where the part... There it is, starter motor. Get that bolted on. Then we're going to lower this whole thing back down again. And let's hit up the paint shop. Although I must say, I do kind of like this grey. So I'm not sure I necessarily really want to move it to the paint shop. But let's have a look, see if there's any... there. What is it? Liveries. That's the word. No, unfortunately not. Let's see what we could do. We could change to like a sort of a bit more saturation so it's easier to see. Yeah, like a sort of ultramarine blue. I always think it's quite a nice-ish colour for a GTR. Oh yeah. perhaps a little bold maybe. Just tone it down slightly. Oh no, definitely not matte. Oh no, definitely a metallic, I think. Okay, yeah, I quite like that. We'll go with that for colour. So now let's move it over to the dyno, see what it's producing. The fact it moves to the dyno is a good start. That means I've not forgotten anything too critical. It at least starts, so it can be moved. Yes, I do proceed with the dyno. You see, it only started with 251 horsepower, so it's quite below what a GTR should be. I suspect we're going to get up to like 350 maybe, so I still think we're going to be a little bit short on what we actually want. But let's see. Yeah, 346. Nothing amazing in terms of the gains, but I haven't done all the exhaust modifications and all that sort of thing. It's getting to at least a reasonable power. So let's stick this on the track and see how it does. Let me head over to the garage front. Oh, if I can get off the fan. Let's head over to the garage front. We'll hit up the racetrack and see how this thing drives. Obviously, as usual, I have to stipulate the caveat that I'm driving this with a keyboard, so it's next to impossible to drive this with any proficiency. So I wouldn't guarantee that this is going to go particularly well. It sounds good, if nothing else. It launches well, although not quite as well as a real GTR, I don't think. So I hope you sort of enjoyed this mod. This is a sort of second. I've had a few gaps from doing car mechanic videos. Obviously, I'm back on doing a few more now. I do enjoy doing these rebuilds. I do find it quite relaxing and quite enjoyable to do all the engine rebuilds and everything. Even if the cars aren't exactly perfect to what they really should be. You know, the modders haven't really got all that much to work with. They're not allowed to actually create extra parts or anything like that. Is all they can work with is the existing engines in the game. That's why there's sometimes a bit of a limitation with what sort of parts they have available. But still, very enjoyable cars, although this car seems to have an awful lot of body roll. Wow. Okay, so we've ended up in a war. But I hope you've enjoyed this video nonetheless. If you have, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more car mechanic content as well as other games. So, check that out. Thanks guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.